Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. Happy fall. Today we're going to be making one of my personal favorites, roasted butternut squash soup. So let's get started. Preheat your oven to 400 degrees. You're going to start with a full butternut squash, or you can go ahead and purchase pre-cut squash. So if you're starting off with a full squash, we're going to cut the end off. Make sure you have a really sharp knife. And then cut it in half. Once you cut it in half, be sure to scoop out the seeds. You can use a spoon to scoop them out. I've got the seeds scooped out. I'm actually going to cut them in half one more time, and then I'm going to cut my second butternut squash in half. Have your baking sheet lined with either a silicone mat or foil or parchment paper, and you're going to place your cut squash onto your baking sheet. I love to use the Nordic Ware baking sheet. It's made in the US and it's made of all natural materials. And then I also like to use the Silplat made in France silicone sheet. I find it to be one of the most durable of silicone sheets. Next, you're gonna want to brush on or drizzle on some extra virgin olive oil onto your squash. Just lightly coat it. That one was a little heavy, but that's okay, we love olive oil. Don't worry about the skin side, and I did put the skin face down because we're going to be scooping out the flesh and discarding the skin. The next step is optional if you don't like rosemary. I think it just adds a little bit more of a nice herby flavor to the soup. But I'm going to take some fresh rosemary and I'm just going to lay it across the top of the squash. So as it's roasting, the rosemary will seep into the squash and really give it a nice extra flavor. I'm also going to sprinkle on some salt and pepper onto the squash. Next, to add to our baking sheet, I got 3 large pieces of shallot. I'm going to go ahead and remove the outer skin and place it on the baking sheet. Alright, we've got our shallots peeled and on the sheet. Next, I am going to grab a head of garlic, but I'm going to use about 6 cloves. You can use more or less than that, just depending on how much you like garlic. So go ahead and peel your cloves of garlic and place them on your baking sheet as well. Okay, garlic is peeled. Now I have 3 small to medium carrots. I'm going to peel these and just give them a quick chop and place them on the baking sheet as well. Our last ingredient is also optional. I am using white turnips. If you don't have turnips, you could completely omit this, or you could also use yellow or red potato. I'm using 3 small to medium turnips, so you could use 1 to 2 small potatoes for the recipe. So I'm gonna just peel these and chop them, place them on the baking sheet. All of our vegetables and herbs are cut up on our sheet. I'm gonna just go ahead and brush some olive oil on the rest of the vegetables, sprinkle a little salt and pepper. Now we're gonna place our tray in a 400-degree oven for 45 to 55 minutes. Just check your vegetables and make sure they're tender, and that's when you'll know they're ready. It's been about 50 minutes and they are ready. Wow. We're gonna let these cool for just a few minutes, and while these are cooling, we're gonna toast some pumpkin seeds for the top of our soup. We're gonna add a pinch of olive oil and a handful of pumpkin seeds. We're gonna stir them for about 2 to 4 minutes until lightly golden brown. Meanwhile, we're going to add a teaspoon of paprika, pinch of salt, about half a teaspoon, and about a teaspoon of garlic powder. Yum! We're gonna let our seeds cool on the side, and now we're going to come back to our vegetables. Now this next step, you can either use a blender or an immersion blender. If you're using a full blender, be sure to read your blender's instructions on blending hot things. If you're not careful, it can kind of explode on you. So be careful. One thing to note that I'm going to be doing with my Blendtec blender is I'm going to keep the lid off the top so that steam is allowed to escape when it is blending. So you're going to just scoop out the flesh of your butternut squash and leave the skin. So it's pretty easy because it's super tender. If it is not as tender, then you probably need to leave it in the oven maybe 5 to 10 minutes longer. Beautiful. I'm gonna add that to the blender. We've added our squash, our carrots, garlic, and shallots and turnip to the blender. We did not add the rosemary, it already served its purpose. So now what I'm going to do is add 3 cups of vegetable broth or stock. You could also use chicken broth or stock if you'd like. Now at this point, this is still very hot. My broth is room temperature. When I blend it with my Blendtec, it will keep it hot. You have the option of preheating your vegetable broth a little bit, or if you have a blender like mine, it will stay hot. Or the last option is once we're done blending, we can add this into a pot and reheat it all completely. Teaspoon of apple cider vinegar, pinch of pepper and a pinch of salt. By pinch, 1 to 2 teaspoons, taste as you go. Remember, we already added salt to the vegetables before roasting, so we're just adding a little bit more for flavor at this time. You also want to be careful if you don't buy low sodium stock. It is going to have a lot of sodium, so you'll probably be able to skip adding extra salt. Lastly, we're going to add a tablespoon of maple syrup. It's going to have the perfect smoky with a little hint of sweet in it when it's done. It's going to be amazing. With the center cover up, I'm going to place the cover on, and we're gonna go ahead and blend until smooth. All right, our soup is blended and creamy. You're gonna notice it's a pretty thick consistency, which makes it really good. You don't want it kind of too thin. So we have just the right consistency. Our soup is still hot in our Blendtec blender, so we're ready to serve. If your soup is not hot or you like it a little hotter, just go ahead and pour this into a pot on your stove and heat it on low to medium heat for just 5 minutes until it is the temperature that you want. All right, we're ready to serve our soup. I'm gonna pour some into our soup bowl here. Nice and creamy, just the way we like it. At this point, our soup is vegan. You can top it with cream, vegan cream or real cream. I'm gonna top it with creme fraiche, totally optional to you. And then of course, we're gonna top it with our pumpkin seeds as well. Dollop of cream. You can kind of mix it up in here a little bit. Our roasted pumpkin seeds. And a little fresh pepper is always amazing. Okay, our soup is done and it's time for Mike's taste test. You ready?
Me?
You.
Okay.
Let's do this.
Ooh, it's hot. Oh my goodness. I taste garlic, squash, and onion flavor. What is that?
Shallots.
Shallots. Oh my goodness. And these pumpkin seeds.
If I had some crusty French bread, it would go perfectly with it.
Oh yeah. This is outstanding. This is the perfect fall cold evening dish. Thank you.
You're welcome. Hope you guys really enjoy this soup. It's so delicious. It's perfect for fall and winter time as a nice smoky yet savory flavor, and it's just so good. And definitely if you have some bread, it's really good with bread and a side salad. So again, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoy. Be sure to like our video and subscribe to our channel. And for more recipes, visit us at nestinature.com, which is linked in the description below. Thanks guys so much. The bowl is hot.
Yeah.